My name's Anna, and I'm from Aberdeen with the Scots CRN group, and I've been a part of that for about 4 or 5 years. And I'm 17, and I also have arthritis, the same as Simon, but I don't have everything else that kind of beat me on that one. I've had it for almost 15 years, since I was 3, and yeah, I'm almost 18, I'll be 18 this year, and I'm moving to uni, so therefore I'm transitioning from the children's hospital to the adults hospital, so that's something that I'm going to be speaking about. So when I was 3, I was diagnosed with systemic JIA, which is juvenile idiopathic arthritis. Juvenile just means anyone under the age of 16 who's diagnosed, so even when I'm 30, it'll still be called JIA. Idiopathic just means no known cause, and arthritis is inflammation of the joints. And I had a few complications when I was younger because it was systemic, and the treatments were all different. And when I was first diagnosed, I had to have 30 steroid injections under general anesthetic, and that kind of kick-started the treatment. And I've been on loads of drugs, to name a few. I started on methotrexate, which some people might be familiar with, and a drug called etanercept, which were injections. My mum did them, she's over there, and I hated her for that. But then I moved on because the medication wasn't suited for me anymore. I moved on to something called infliximab, which was a really long infusion. It almost took about 5 hours at the hospital just for one infusion every month. So I changed on to a drug called tocilizumab, and I used to get that every 3 weeks, and it was a slightly shorter infusion. And recently, the end of last year, I think it was, I started on tocilizumab injections. So I do my own injection every 2 weeks, and it's so much better than having to go to the hospital every 3 weeks. And I was also sitting in the children's ward at age 17, which isn't the best. So my injection, doing it myself, has really given me a bit more responsibility over my own illness, which I think I used to rely on my mum to do because obviously I was diagnosed really young and just kind of left it for her to do and didn't take much responsibility. So mum started making me do stuff like book my own blood tests and speak to the doctor by myself. And I think it's really helping me take responsibility and get ready for moving to adult services because obviously she can't come with me when I move out as much as she might like to. But for the transition period in Aberdeen, my doctor started seeing me by myself for clinic appointments for, I think it might be a year, but I can't remember. And I would go in for 5 minutes at the start by myself. She would tell me everything. I would listen, and then mum would come in and get told everything, so that I didn't forget because I did. And recently, I've noticed that that's actually a really beneficial process because before I would rely on my parents to tell me what was happening and I would just go along with it. But now I talk to the doctor by myself and take on the information and take responsibility. My doctor also was really helpful. She gave me advice on where I should go for because I'm moving to a different city, for a new doctor, a new hospital, to change GP doctors, to change everything. But she gave me advice on who would be the best and what would work out. I can do a lot more things because of the medicine. The biologic drugs are like magic. Because when I was younger, I couldn't do much, obviously, during the first stages of my illness, but I have ridden horses all my life, skied, run, netball, everything, surfed once. Just do whatever I want to because of the medicine, and I don't think that if you looked at me, you would know there was an illness, which is great because I think that's quite a good way to deal with an illness when not everyone knows, and I can choose to tell people if I want to or if I don't want to, if I don't think they need to know, because it doesn't affect me as much as something else could. But yeah, that was me. So, thanks.
My name's Stacey, also known as Frankie's mum. Everywhere you go, Frankie's mum. So this is Frankie, and Frankie is now 3, and I'm going to speak a bit about Frankie from when he was born to why I'm here. So Frankie was born just like any normal child. Pretty easy pregnancy, weighed a healthy 9 pounds 3 ounces, and ouch, it was sore. So Frankie, at 6 weeks old, suffered a prolonged seizure, which lasted over an hour. And being a first-time mum, I didn't want to be neurotic and rush him straight to A&E, so I took him up myself, which was quite irresponsible now, but and it was after his routine vaccinations. As you can see, he took his second seizure at 4 months, again after his routine vaccinations. Each time we were told that it was febrile seizure, nothing to worry about, take him home, he'll be fine. And at the one 4 months old, that was pretty scary. When you're in an ambulance, first time mum, small baby, and you know the ambulance crew are radioing in saying, team on standby, 4-month-old baby coming in. You know, as a mum, it's scary. So we almost lost him at 4 months old due to that seizure, and he did. During that time, he was in intensive care and he was unconscious for 3 days. And they told us that we didn't know if he was going to be brain damaged after it. You know, so it was a trying time. Again, you know, after speaking to consultants, they said febrile seizure, nothing to worry about. Take your new baby home, enjoy life, and we did. And you know, you believe everything that people tell you. So we took him home, and then again at 8 months old, that's hell began, and he took another seizure. And again, ever since then, he seized every day of his life. So, as you can imagine, you know, as a first-time mum, to receive a diagnosis at 11 months old in your baby that he's got Dravet syndrome, it's scary. So, I know everybody's thinking, what's Dravet syndrome? So, here we are. So, this is actual. This is taken from Dravet Syndrome UK site, so this is just some of the details, and I won't bore you with them all, but it's basically a debilitating form of epilepsy, which he will never outgrow, and it is rare, and it only affects 1 in 20,000 births in the UK. It used to be 1 in 40,000 births, but with use of you know, early detection and getting a diagnosis, it's now reduced to 1 in 20,000 people. So it does come along with other health issues. You know, Frankie will continue to have behaviour issues, learning difficulties, it's associated with autism, that type of thing. Frankie was very textbook, as you can see. He had his first seizure in the first year of life, which now knowing details, 6 weeks old is pretty early for the seizures to start, so he is slightly different, but he's just doing it Frankie's way, which is fine. So with Dravet syndrome, the seizures, like I said in my previous slide, they do increase, and they also increase in severity, so which would potentially cause more brain damage. And at the bottom here it says that Dravet syndrome, it's spontaneous, which it is. My husband and I have both been tested, and we don't actually have the gene, so it wasn't like we were prepared for this when we were pregnant. So it's just been one of those things, and the geneticist explained it to me that we probably had more chance of winning the lottery, which I'm still waiting on my lottery win, but we've got Frankie, so we feel like we've won it. So, like I said before, Dravet syndrome comes along with other difficulties, so development being a big one. So we have had every seizure that's named up here, and probably a whole lot more. This is just to name a few. Dravet patients are prone to status epilepticus, which is prolonged seizures which require quite a lot of medical intervention to get them to stop. And like I say, when it's your child and he's only 6 weeks or 4 months old and you know they're unable to stop it, it's scary. So in the second year, that's when other issues start to arise. So his progressions, it depends. It is a spectrum, so not every child's the same. So, you know, it's I can only tell you Frankie's condition rather than any other Dravet patient. And he will require 24/7 care forever, amen. But you know, that's such as life. So what's it like living with Dravet syndrome? Well, in our house, we always call him Mr. Dravet. So, like I said, he was diagnosed at 11 months old, and we went into that appointment that your whole world fell apart. So, to be told by a consultant when your child's there at 11 months old, who's developing normally, and he's reached every milestone, that, you know, you ask the direct question to the consultant and you say, well, what does that mean for us? And she says, well, you know, Frankie may never walk, he may never talk, he may have to go to special needs school. You know, that's not what was in our plan. We planned this baby. That wasn't, we didn't plan for this to happen. And I also remember, and this sticks with me forever, but this is when I started to trust his consultant. I remember asking her a direct question, and I looked at her right in the eye and I said, will Frankie die from this? And her reply was, it's a possibility. So when you leave the room and you think, wow, my son's got this life-threatening illness, you know, you leave and you think, how can we move on from this? How can we carry on? How can we live with this wee baby and know that we could lose him any day? But, you know, you do it, and you get up every morning, because he does, and he's expecting you to be there smiling and happy and telling him everything's going to be okay, because you're the adult. So, you know, you're there to reassure your kids, and that's just what you do. So you do cry, and you cry to yourself, and I'm sorry for getting upset here, but, you know, you do feel really sad inside, but it's that wee baby, he relies on you, so you just have to just go on with it. So it's not easy, because waking up every morning, I check on Frankie just to make sure, and like I said, we call him Mr. Dravet, but just to make sure Mr. Dravet's not taking him from us in the night. And you never get used to that. You never get used to going and checking in that bedroom to see if your child's still alive. So also what's really been difficult for us living with Dravet syndrome is no professional knows about it. So when we got Frankie's diagnosis, just even explaining to the GP, to the ambulance crew, I mean, you're a mum, but then suddenly you're this medical advocate that has to know everything about Dravet syndrome, because you have to then explain to anybody who meets your child, you know, what condition they have. It gets tedious after a while. But these are just a few of our daily struggles. There's a whole lot more. So why did we then decide to go into a drug trial with our child who was so young? So here's just a few things. So Frankie was, he was never photosensitive, but around age 16 months, that's when the photosensitivity started. So for instance, like it says up here, that daylight was his trigger, so everything in life here that's certain is daylight. So when people think about photosensitivity, they think of computer screens, they think of the TV, flashing lights, that type of stuff. But Frankie's was actually daylight. So even just taking him out would trigger a seizure. You know, it would require an ambulance trip. It would require hospitalisation. It would just be a living hell. So there was some days even just in the house, we had to bathe him just in candlelight, just to offer him a bit of relief from the seizures that he was having continuously. And to do that, it's tough. It's tough on your own mental health, because you think to yourself, well, it's tough on him, but he doesn't actually know any better. But when you're a parent and you want to walk your child and you want to walk your dog and you want to take your child to the park, it's really tough. It is really tough. So feeling isolated and alone in the house, it was just like you were a prisoner, really. And I remember saying to his consultant, listen, you know, what advice can you offer here? We've exhausted all these medicines. He's on 4 medicines. We're still housebound. We can't go out. I'm starting to suffer mental health. You know, we don't have any help. Trying to keep a 2-year-old who, okay, he is developmentally delayed, but, you know, he's still a normal 2-year-old. He still likes to get up to trouble and mischief and climb, and you're trying to entertain, and you get the paints out, and he's 5 minutes, and you clean all the paints away, and then it's Play-Doh, and, you know, it's just really tough, especially when you don't have that outside connection with anybody. So why did we want to trial it? Well, basically everything I've wrote up here was diseases, and I thought, well, you know, we've exhausted 4 medicines. What have we got to lose? And it's not ideal having your son on all these medicines because, as you know, medicines come with side effects, and, you know, it's difficult. And it's difficult as a parent to think that you're pumping your child full of all these drugs. It's not helping. They're telling you it's going to help. It's still not helping. You're still housebound. Why would we want to try another drug? Why would we want to go and say, right, okay, this drug might help? So as a mum, I'm obviously concerned, so I did a bit of research and went to the Dravet Syndrome UK conference who was speaking, and the professor from Great Ormond Street Hospital was raving about this fenfluramine, so I thought, right, okay, you know what, let's just go for it, we've got nothing to lose. So I went along, and I'd also known that it had been used previously for photosensitivity back in the 1960s, and it was with good results, and I did know that it had a royal decree in Belgium, because the small group, and I appreciate that in any trial you can't use such a small group, but in that group of children in Belgium, it was effective. And when they compared the results from kids with Dravet syndrome in the UK with kids in Belgium, okay, it wasn't a cure, but they had slightly better outcome. So they had slightly better development, they had slightly better, you know, everything was better for these kids. So, you know, like me, I want better for my son, so, you know, it was an obvious choice to try fenfluramine. So the fears that you have with any drug that you take, I mean, if someone offers you a paracetamol, you worry about what it might do to you because it's a different effect for that person. So, you know, as a parent as well, to a very sick, complex child, the fears that we had were, well, initially was, will it work? We've tried 4 medicines, they've failed, we're getting side effects from those medicines, and some of the side effects was actually aggravating the photosensitivity. So I was giving my son a drug that was supposed to help seizures, when in actual fact it was making it worse. So, you know, the fear is always there, well, you know, what if it does make it worse? But at the back of my mind, I always thought, what if this makes it better? What if this what if this works, this one? You know, what if this means that we can go outside even just for 5 minutes? So you've got to take those, you've got to do it. When we went along to the initial appointment, we were met by the professor. Now, this is me being perfectly honest, and if it had been based on the professor alone, there's just no way that I would have taken part. I just felt as though he was very impersonal. Frankie was just a number, and I think he was just glad to have someone to experiment on. And as a parent, you are offering up your child, who is your most precious thing in the whole world, and you're offering that up for an experiment. And for somebody to almost dismiss you, it just feels like a bit of slap in the face, and I just thought, you know, the confidence had lost. However, the research team there, you know, they got us on board, they explained everything, and they had said, listen, you know, give it a try, here's what other patients are, this is what's happening with other patients, you know, and that was their reason for going ahead with it. And initially, like I said, we were just, one of our biggest fears was, will this make an already terrible situation worse? And it was scary. So during the placebo phase, so I'm assuming everybody's familiar with a placebo drug trial, so they give you're not sure whether you're on the drug or not. So initially we had a 6-week period to just see if he met the criteria, which he did, because he was having enough seizures to meet that. And I'm not going to lie, that it was the longest 15 weeks of your whole life, and it was a struggle, like, it was a big struggle. And, you know, to hold your child down, and it takes 6 medical staff to hold him down, to get bloods out of him, and to watch him scream for mum, it's tough. And to do that weekly, it's even tougher, and not to be able to explain to him why we're doing it and why it's going to help him, and this is going to help you. You can't explain that to a 2-year-old. They just see these people hold them down, getting bloods, doing heart echoes, doing ECGs. He just sees all of that. So it was really tough, and it was really tough. Every appointment that I came out of, I felt so emotional, and I was thinking, are we doing the right thing? Is this, am I scaring him? Am I going to scar him forever? And then you start questioning yourself, and you think, I wish you could just tell me, but you do it. And like I've said, if it wasn't for the actual team itself at the research centre, we were on our knees at some days, and there was just no way we could have got through those days without the team. They were invaluable. And even at the appointments, they were great with Frankie. And even when I was getting upset, they gave me 5 minutes and they would look after Frankie. And may I add, my own family won't look after Frankie, just with the complexity of the seizures, and knowing that, after each seizure you have to give CPR, and, it's too much for them. So it was really kind that they offered that whilst I was there, just to give me a breather and a 5 minutes to just take stock and get back on it. So that's all the reasons why we'd done the drug trial, and obviously it was really difficult. And so obviously everybody wants to know is, what was the outcome? Like, why did you put yourself through that full thing? So this is when it obviously gets a nice talk and happy tears. So it's basically been a life changer for us, and not only for Frankie's quality of life, but for us as a family. So things that people take for granted, like opening your blinds in your house, that was huge for us. Like, I remember the first day I opened them, and I was thinking, is he all right? Is he going to have a seizure? Is he, and then even just, this is Frankie here at the end here. That was his first time in the snow, and just having him outside without glasses in the snow, playing like a normal child with the dog. And, I remember crying, and my husband said, "Why are you crying?" I was like, this is his first time in the snow. Like, nobody realises the significance of this. And like it says there, that the reduction in seizures have been, it's been huge. And even just, like, it says there that he went into his playroom. So as a parent, you decorate a playroom, and what do? You decorate it nice and bright, and it's going to be great. And Frankie couldn't actually go in there. And I remember opening the door for the first time, and he walked in, and I was like, and we were just bated breath. Is he going to have a seizure? And he played in there for over an hour, and we were like, this is great. So, it is been a struggle, but to see all of these things was, amazing as a mum. And then, like it says there at the bottom, our biggest achievement and positive outcome is we actually took him to Disneyland. And I know that sounds like the smallest thing for any parent, because you do dream taking my child to Disneyland, and you do this, but even just getting a passport for Frankie without sunglasses and without a patch, with a flashing light, that was huge. And when we went in, and I says to the guy, I says, we'll have to take his glasses off, can we dim the lights to take it? And he's like, well, we can't, because we need the brightness anyway. We were able to do that, and he had a passport, and like I say, we went there completely and utterly seizure-free, 5 full days, and honest to God, I couldn't have wrote it, because on the day that we came home, he had a seizure. And I says, thank you, Mr. Dravi, just for having a holiday. So I think that, back to what Bob Phillips had said, when you are doing drug trials, people do just forget, especially the team forget, that there is actually, I know that it's a number, and you collate all your stats and you do everything, but I'm a real person, and so is Frankie. And when they go home at 5 o'clock or whatever, when they finish their job, they forget about it, whereas we live it every single day. So when you do require a patient or a parent to take part in a study, just always remember that that is a number. It's a number to you, but it's actually a person to us, and it's real for us, and we live it every day. So when, like Bob had said, ask the relevant questions, it is important to ask the relevant questions, because when you get like that professor who lost my confidence halfway through it. You know, I would have thrown in the towel with it, and it's been life-changing, so. Anyway, here's just another couple of pictures of Frankie. And this was him just recently in the sunshine. He's still wearing his specs, but it's just kind of belt and braces for my benefit. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. Thanks for listening.